Coming up on WUFT Midday, former President Donald Trump has won re-election in a historic victory. We have the numbers. We also have the latest on local Florida elections and a runoff here in Alachua County. And finally, major amendments in Florida failed to pass. Stick with us on WUFT as we dive in.
You're watching WUFT Midday.
Donald Trump has won a second term in office, cruising to victory over Vice President Kamala Harris. He's the second U.S. president to win 2 non-consecutive terms since Grover Cleveland in 1892. Let's head to Washington to track the latest.
It's the day after Election Day and no more waiting. Former President Donald Trump is the president-elect and poised to become the 47th president of the United States over Vice President Kamala Harris. Wisconsin is the final state CNN projected to send him over the edge with 270 electoral votes. He is also poised to win the popular vote, a huge win for the former president. Now, he crumbled the so-called blue wall that had formerly sent President Joe Biden to the White House in 2020 over Donald Trump at that point. That was Harris's clearest path to the White House if she were to win the 2024 election. Another big win for the Republicans in the 2024 election is taking over the Senate and flipping the Senate. So another race we're keeping our eyes on is the race for control of the House. Republicans hoping to keep control of the House in this election. Now, Trump, he addressed his supporters around 2 a.m. Eastern time in Florida. Hear what he had to say.
America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate. We have taken back control of the Senate. Wow. I will govern by a simple motto: promises made, promises kept. We're going to keep our promises. Nothing will stop me from keeping my word to you, the people.
Now, Kamala Harris didn't talk to her supporters last night at Howard University. A member of her campaign staff said that she will be addressing her supporters at Howard University at some point today, not giving a timeline of that, but they did say they wanted to wait until every vote was counted. In Washington, D.C., I'm Lee Waldman reporting.
The Harris campaign watch party at Howard University came to an end early this morning. Thousands showed up to the vice president's alma mater to show their support on Tuesday. Vice President Harris did not address the crowd at Howard University as the race remained undecided. Harris campaign co-chair Cedric Richmond thanked the crowd and delivered the disappointing news that the vice president would not be addressing them. Instead, he said Harris will speak to voters the following day.
I want to say good evening to all of the Harris campaign, the campaign family. Thank you for all that you have done. Thank you for being here. Thank you for believing in the promise of America. We still have votes to count. We still have states that have not been called yet. We will continue overnight to fight to make sure that every vote is counted, that every voice has spoken. So you won't hear from the vice president tonight, but you will hear from her tomorrow. She will be back here tomorrow to address not only the HU family, not only to address her supporters, but to address the nation. So thank you. We believe in you. May God bless you. May God keep you. And go HU and go Harris. Thank you all.
Former President Trump jumped to an early lead as polls in solid red states closed first. Wins in North Carolina and Georgia were early swing state pickups. The election would eventually turn to this Northeast and Midwest region with the crucial states of Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Harris did not outperform President Biden's 2020 results in any state. Once Pennsylvania was called in the early hours of the morning, Harris no longer had a path to victory. Incumbent Senator Rick Scott comfortably won his election against Democratic challenger Debbie Mucarsel-Powell. This is Scott's second term as senator, following 2 terms as governor. Florida has historically been a swing state, but in recent years has shifted increasingly red. Mucarsel Powell was polling competitively, as most election analysts marked the race as leaning Republican. However, Scott won by a large margin, matching President-elect Trump's Florida results around 56% of the vote. Republicans are projected to flip the Senate, taking control of both houses of Congress. CNN projects Republicans will win control of the Senate. The Republican Party push to gain control on election night started when West Virginia Republican Governor Jim Justice was projected to pick up the Senate seat. Then, in Ohio, three-term Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown was projected to lose his re-election bid. Meanwhile, Florida Senator Rick Scott and Texas Senator Ted Cruz both won their re-election bids. With several races still to be declared, Republicans had 51 seats in the chamber. The last time the Republican Party took control of the Senate was in 2021. Two highly publicized Florida amendments failed to pass this election. Florida voters rejected Amendment 3, which would have legalized the use of recreational marijuana in the state. Amendment 4, which would have overturned a 6-week abortion ban, also failed to pass. The threshold for a state amendment is a 60% majority. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has spoken out against both amendments and celebrated the results on his X account last night. Alachua County residents voted on several referendums this election, but results may not be clear for some time. Voters approved the 1 mil for school ballot question with 76% of the vote, and it'll pass without issue, bring increased funding to school programs through Alachua County. However, the Gainesville Charter Amendment for Public Utilities referendum is still up in the air. This referendum would return control of Gainesville Regional Utility to the City Commission. However, GRU filed an emergency injunction in September, claiming the bill violates legislative authority. Although the amendment passed with 72.5% of the vote, a hearing is scheduled for December 19th to the 20th to hear GRU's case. Multiple key races were decided now that all ballots have been counted in Alachua County. Republican nominee Kat Cammack won re-election to the U.S. House of Representatives. She's represented the 3rd Congressional District since 2021. Cammack won in a landslide over her Democratic opponent Tom Wells. She won in 2022 with 62.5% of votes. Florida's 3rd Congressional District covers much of its north, central, and northwest regions. This election continues the 11-year streak of a Republican seat in District 3. Alachua County sheriff race ended Tuesday in a mandatory recount. Democratic candidate Chad Scott holds a slight lead with 47% of the vote. Republican incumbent Embry Gainey is right behind with 46.7%, and non-party affiliated candidate Pamela Marshall-Coons received 6% of the vote. Sheriff Gainey is the first Republican to serve as Alachua County Sheriff since 2006 and was appointed in September 2023 by Governor Ron DeSantis. Florida law requires a mandatory recount for any election within 0.5% of the vote. It's still unclear when the recount can be expected to take place. Now let's take a look at traffic flowing down I-75 at Paynes Prairie. As we look live, things look to be moving slowly. However, there are some dark gray clouds in the sky with chances for scattered showers. UF meteorologist William Maxham is here to tell us what we can expect as the day goes on.
A lot of clouds and a noticeable jump in the humidity. If you go outside, the air feeling a little more thick and wet. We're going to see numerous showers on and off through the rest of the afternoon. Temperatures in the mid 80s. Right now, we're not really going to see much change as we get later into the day, and we won't see much sun either. We stay in the mid 80s, but I think rain going to actually pick up in intensity, and we'll see that rain coming down heavy at times into the evening. Scattered showers starting to get a little more widely scattered later into the night, and we'll still have some threat for rain tomorrow, but I think not as much rain coming our way as tomorrow as we'll see today. Around the region, 80 Jacksonville, 79 in the villages where it has been raining a bit longer. The radar around the region shows some heavier showers across Marion County, south of Williston, some heavier showers here, but most of the rain moving through going to be rather light. Futurecast showing the rain in an hour or so, a little more amplified than what we're seeing now in reality. So I think we'll see the same pattern, but maybe not quite as much heavy rain that time, but the showers continue into the evening, then kind of diminish across North Florida, at least our part of North Florida. The rain continues across parts of northern Florida, close to I-10 and a little bit closer to the Panhandle. Rain heavier there, also into South Georgia. But tomorrow, less potential for heavy rain, just a couple spotty showers here and there. Tomorrow not going to be as soaking as today. But I think once we're all said and done, by the time we see the last showers fall at the end of the day on Thursday, we're looking at maybe about a quarter inch of rain in most spots to a half inch to an inch or more in most spots in northern Florida. Additional moisture courtesy of this guy. Raphael is a Category 2 storm, and it's bringing in that deeper tropical moisture across the state of Florida. It's going to be moving a little bit closer for tomorrow, but by the time we get to tomorrow, in the mid part of the day, that storm is expected to make a turn to the west, head towards the Texas area over the weekend and begin weakening. So tropical moisture in place for another day or so, then we dry out into the weekend. Dew point, the measure of the moisture in the air, into the 70s. This is more typical of late summer than it is mid part of the fall season. The humidity still kind of high tomorrow, but it goes down into the weekend, getting more comfortable. And without that high humidity, we'll see less potential for showers and storms. We're looking dry Friday and both days of the weekend. No problems there. Temperatures into the 80s next week. Cold front tries to make it into our region, but just kind of fizzles out early into the week. We'll still see a couple sprinkles though Monday into Tuesday, but the warmth sticks around into the mid 80s, about 10 degrees above average.
In other news, Bitcoin jumped to an all-time high last night while traders reacted to election results. It soared to $75,000 a share after former President Donald Trump took an early lead in the Electoral College. It was previously priced at $68,000 a share. Traders already anticipated a bump in crypto prices with a Trump victory. Had Vice President Kamala Harris won, traders expected a bit of a drop in Bitcoin's value. Record debt levels and monetary expansion have driven up the demand for hard assets like Bitcoin per analysts. U.S. sticks and bond yields also spiked ahead of Wall Street's opening on Wednesday. Elon Musk, who's been a big supporter of Trump's campaign, saw a major jump in his net worth as results poured in last night. The Tesla CEO's net worth increased by $12 billion after Donald Trump's victory last night. Investors had already expected Trump's win to also be a Tesla win. The electric vehicle company's shares shot up by more than 12% in pre-market trading. Increases like those proved to be pretty solid returns for the $119 million Musk donated to Trump's campaign through his political action committee. NVIDIA is now the world's most valuable company. The AI software company surpassed Apple in a tech shakeup Tuesday. It now has $3.43 trillion market capitalization, a 3% increase from before. NVIDIA shares have practically tripled in 2024 as of now. The company saw explosive growth in 2023 when it emerged as the primary source of graphics processing units, or GPUs, used in computers that power AI operations. It'll join the blue chip index before the market opens on Friday. Now let's head over to WUFT First at 5 anchor Charlize Ramos with a look at what's coming up on First at 5 on Channel 5.
It's the day after the 2024 general election, and the nation is buzzing as we reflect on the many candidates, amendments, and ballot measures voters have been tracking for months. Today on First at 5, we'll give you the latest updates on the 2024 presidential election, tracking President-elect Donald Trump's return to the White House, plus the outcomes from Florida's local races and amendments, and how results for the Alachua County GRU ballot measure will factor into the City of Gainesville's ongoing lawsuit. All this and more at 5.
And before we go, let's have ourselves one last check on the weather.
Let's do it. Weather looking wet for the next 24 hours or so, but we'll see fewer showers on Thursday. We've got about a 70-80% chance of rain today, but only 40% chance tomorrow. And the late part of our Thursday even drier than the morning hours. Friday, no issues there. Headed into the weekend, we're looking at the warmth sticking around into the mid 80s, but next week cold front tries to push in. We'll see a sprinkle or two Monday to Tuesday, but that cold air not really going to make it. We're going to stay well above average with temperatures into the 80s through really the majority of next week and this week.
Thanks for joining us for WUFT Midday. It's been an absolute pleasure. We're back here tomorrow for another edition. We now join Sports Scene with Steve Russell, live on WRUF Radio and right here on WRUF-TV, Channel 6.